So thanks for coming in, guys. I'm Gaurav, Gaurav Mishra, new to United States, first time in Texas. I lived in India for all my life. Just moved in like 5 months back, and just trying to go and visit every Drupal camp. So yeah, first time in Texas, first time in Drupal Texas camp. So on Twitter, I'm at Mishra. On LinkedIn, I'm at gmishra.com. You can find me there if you want to. You have any questions or any follow-up. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I forgot that. Thank you. Okay, here you go. So yes, at Twitter, Mishra, LinkedIn, gmishra.com. If you have any follow-up questions, we can connect after the presentation. Feel free to reach out to me. So today's topic is about voice-first world. How many people are who is not using Alexa or Google Home here? Oh wow, you're not okay.
But
never used it.
No, but HomePods, yes.
HomePods, yeah,
Siri.
yeah, Siri. Okay, yeah. So some sort of. You're not. So same Siri. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So others, apart from you, great. So everybody has seen the.
But I am a content provider,
Mhm.
so I need to know how to make my stuff show up.
Wonderful, yeah. So yes, definitely there are some definitely tips on that for you. So what Gartner says, right, that by in the next 2 years, right, the customers are going to manage 85% of the relationships with organization by not interacting with a human, right? So most of your customer support, call centers, right? Gartner predicts that 85% of that would be computer led and not human led, right? In the next 2 years, what's going to happen? Let's see. But that's what Gartner predicts. Google predicts, and this has got a good history. There was one guy which actually claimed in one of the Chinese guy from Alibaba, claimed in, and then actually Google confirmed that they have 20% of the searches right now as we speak are essentially coming from voice. And I have some data around that, what kind of these searches are. But Google, with the growth and with Google Maps getting into the voice and with the assistant becoming the poster main topic, in all the all the announcements they are doing, they predict that by 50% of the searches that the world is making would be voice-based search. And that's a huge number. And definitely the content management industry is not ready for that. So I'll jump on the more technical details a little later on, but let's look at more on the business side of it. So this is a very famous innovation curve. Anybody seen that earlier? No? Okay. So this is something that people use, and it gets updated like every year, on saying that what are the different trends that are on the innovation curve. You'll see blockchain right here, right, which is peaking up, right, and which is just going to go down, and you'll see the conversational user interface is still, not there when it's peaking up, right. So the technology trends peak up and then, goes down. So natural language question answering is now actually getting stable, right. So if you call Verizon, if you call your provider, you'll see a lot of natural language question and answer ability, right? Because it's now, right there. But still, that's very user question centric. What about the content centric, right? The conversational user interface. That's still, evolving in from a trend point of view. So interesting graph. And we all know that the bots are getting cheaper, day by day, right? With all the sales coming in, it's literally free, right? Google, a couple of years back, gave away free assistants, minis, globally. By 2021, in US, this is the figures in US, 1.8 billion devices, is expected. And so the bots are rising, right? The voice ecosystem is rising. But let's face it, anybody who has used it, especially HomePods, knows that they are very, very frustrating, right? You don't get the answers. You have to really learn and look at a specific way to question, and most of the time it would not end up giving you the answer, right? You get frustrated. And then there are other problems. There are clear signs where we know that the government is listening to it. There is organization which is mining the data for advertisements. There is a concern where organizations are looking to remove people, right? Remove humans as much as they can, and move them to the bots. And there is a lot of uprising happening against that. But we are not going to talk about that. So we will not talk about any of that, because this is, yes, there are a lot of worries. But let's talk about the positive side. Let's see what we can do to ensure that we are ready for the future. If the future is coming, if everybody is saying what we can do from a content management industry point of view, right? So so the web-based content that we know, right, for which all that time we have been building our Drupal sites, it's all web-based content, right? It's a very high verbosity content, right? Very screen-centric, visual. You can pretty much go into an article or look at a 500 word article, 1,000 word article, and pretty much scroll down very easily, right? And skim it and say, hey, this is what I really want to read. This is what I want to skip. So it's very visual. It's very high verbose. You can find your data very easily. And one of the bigger strength of the web-based content is the hyperlinks, right? So you can navigate information architecture via hyperlink from one content to another. There is relationships between via the hyperlink. So that's a very traditional way of consuming content on the web-based, and a complex architecture. On the other side, if you look at the conversational content, it's very low verbosity, right? No user interface. And while all your web-based content is very multi-directional, you can stay in a page and you can go 10 different directions from that page and then come back, right? And things like that. Very, very multi-directional. Conversational content is always unidirectional, right? So if you go into a direction, if you are at a place where you've already listened like 30 minutes of it, and you say, let me go back to what I heard at the minute 5. No, you cannot do that, right? Very difficult way to do that. So that means that where in the world where we're looking at building a lot of content, stuffing a lot of words into articles, where the content quantity mattered a lot in that era of the content management systems, context is going to take precedence in the conversational world, right? So when you are presenting, you have to be very precise. You have to be extremely contextual to the person who is going to listen to that particular content. And why we should worry about it, right? Because so right now at where we are, definitely today, if I speak, yes, if you don't have a voice content strategy, just if you're going to cater for the next 6 months, yes, it's not really useful. But building great content is really expensive and difficult, right? And imagine and a lot of places that's the second point is happening a lot. Any big organization who are having their voice content strategy, they're building a web-based content, and at the same time they have a different content strategy for the voice-based content. So the same content is being built onto 2 different platforms for 2 different reasons, right? And it's becoming more expensive and expensive as you go on, right? Another big reason is that search is gonna become huge. I was into a voice summit that happened in Newark a few months back, right? And some very big shots in the search world were actually talking that how much ROI revenue that they are seeing coming out of it from Microsoft being folks there, and they're seeing that they're actually seeing a lot of voice searches happening. The Google and Microsoft both are not releasing the data, for specific reasons, because, and they actually quoted that, in the summit, because they said SEO industry is so bastardized, right? Because they had, people had the data to essentially look at and say that what is happening, what is not happening. So they are actually holding back all the data of the voice search, just because of that reason. So, but they are saying that there is a lot of voice search happening, and it's actually leading to a lot of revenue for the companies who are using it. And then lastly, what we also have to look at, that the reason of having a voice content strategy is that it's very important to have a conversational legibility of the content, right? Can a listener understand what you are saying? And I'll talk more on that with some examples later on. But let's look at first at how the bots work. You know, anybody here heard about the intents? What the intent? So I'll relate it. So this is essentially utterance that you say to a bot, right? And I'll break it down on how it works. So you say Alexa, which is a wake word, Alexa or Google, which is a wake word for the devices, and then you launch a particular application. So the way that you launch an app by clicking onto it, on Alexa or Google Home, you have a launch word, which in Alexa is say 10, and then you launch a particular app, which is an invocation name. Here it is, it's plan my trip, and then it follows with an utterance, right? Now utterance is combined with words, with a sentence, and a slot value, which is essentially a variable in the development world, right? A variable. So this is how a particular word or particular sentence that you give to Alexa is broken down, and then what happens is that this application, the plan my trip, the invocation name, takes on these utterances and turns it into an intent, right? So it will say, okay, and when you build all this application, you define multiple utterances and say that this 20 utterances goes to this particular intent, and the next 20 utterances go to another intent, things like that, right? So this utterance plans goes to this particular plan migrate intent, and the slot value, which is a variable, goes and gives as an input, right? So it says, Alexa, tell plan my trip, I need a vacation, I would like to take a trip next Friday, right? So it knows, okay, you want to take a vacation, let's start planning a trip for a date specifically which is coming from the variable next Friday. Make sense? Any questions here? No? Okay, wonderful. And let me just talk now. Let's go back to the conversational legibility part, which is actually one of the big reasons of why a voice content strategy is important, right? So this is a real example from the Georgia Gov. Georgia Gov, essentially used Drupal to power their Alexa. So if you go on Alexa and you actually, invocate the skill of a Georgia Gov, you'll be able to ask a lot of questions, right? So they were looking at, changing the experience of people coming in and asking around different benefits and different other questions, right, via Alexa. And what did they found, right? So there are, a lot of, questions. So earlier, the content that they had was something like, how long can I receive a benefit? Now, this particular question was on the web page, was on the page of the employment benefit, right? Now, from a web point of view, when you're an employment benefit page, right, it's, people assume, right, that, yes, I'm in the employment benefit page, and that's why I'm asking a question on how long can I receive benefit. But the same content, when it's going to be served on Alexa, they don't know that they are on the employment benefit page, right? And that is why the content has to be extremely contextual all the time. So they change the content from how long can I receive benefit to how long can I receive employment benefits, right? Same, are benefits taxable, are employment benefits taxable? So they went back, changed all their content to ensure that if the same content is being served on Alexa, it's clearly contextual from a page point of view. Another example, we use hyperlinks all the time, right? And one of the essentially question said you can receive payments through either a debit card or direct deposit. Learn more about the payments, which is a hyperlink. Now, that's totally fine from a web-based content word, right? Because you can see the hyperlink and you can click on the hyperlink. But when it's the same content on Alexa, would just not make sense. And that's why they went back and changed the learn more about content payments hyperlink and hyperlink the receive payments part. So now that same part, you can receive payments when it's shown on the web. You can see the hyperlink when it's being served on Alexa. The hyperlink is not shown, and it's not also saying, because when it was hyperlinked, then the word learn more about payments was not making sense on Alexa. Am I clear here? Yeah. And then the typical one, read more about this, and then it will becomes a question. The answer is read more about this. So all the snippets like this, where they were not giving enough summary out there and leading the person to a particular page, were all removed and gave some contextual summary so that it can be served on Alexa. So a very good example, live example, right, on how they, when they started, serving the same content over Alexa, realized that the content is just not ready. Now imagine this over a company like a media site or a New York Times or a Washington Post, right, and large site where they're building content, so much content, right. Imagine how much redo that they would have to do, once they start coming over. And the conversational usability, right, is very different than the normal usability that you would do, right? So the test cases that the Georgia did was they, for a lot of time you don't realize that the content strategy is broken, unless and until you do the conversational usability test. In which case you give the problem use case to the person and ask him to find the content, right? So you ask Alexa and say, are they getting the answer or not? In most of the cases they did not, and that's where they went back and changed their content strategy, because the content was essentially not made for the Alexa. So all the traditional test techniques like eye tracking, thinking aloud, retro, all that doesn't work. You have to look at example test cases to essentially find out the conversational usability. So that was a quick view on and we'll talk more on how to solve that, right? What to do about it. But so quick view on some real examples. So before we go that, let's look at how big that is, right? So this is some numbers. 59% of the US teens use voice search while watching TV, right? A lot of time IMDb ratings, if say Google. A lot of time IMDb ratings and other ratings on how good the reviews of a particular show that they are looking is something that they are bringing in. And 55% of the teens and 41% of the adults use voice search more than once a day. This is again a US based data. So it's already big in US, right? It's looking to get big in globally as well, right? With Google now just launched a specific mobile phone for just the India market, which is a vernacular mobile phone, right? And it just works on voice. There is no visual interface. It's pure voice interface for the Indian market, right? Totally vernacular, and they believe it would be a game changer. So how is VSO, which is voice search optimization, is different than your traditional search engine optimization? And the reason is that once you understand the VSO, the content strategy almost fall in its place in itself, right? So the VSO is, when all the searches are happening in the voice and whatever the limited data that we have in the public, it's always very action oriented, right? Find nearest gas station, find best pizza places in New York, right? And this is more very real time happening, right? When you're on the road or you're in the car, right? And it's not happening with the proximity of a computer where your normal searches happen, right? So it's very real time while you're on the road or driving the car, and that is why it becomes very important to have location data, right, in the content that you are having, right? So Google is giving much more importance to the location data. So if you are building if you are talking about a nice way to build a pizza, right, and you're looking at some specific market and you want to make it rank, let's say in New York or in San Antonio, right, a taco place, or making a taco in San Antonio, please tag it with the location data. Have the coordinates of San Antonio, right, to make it more ranked in the Google voice search. And so what are these voice searches happening? They're asking for directions, to call somebody, to dictate text. The children are using a lot with the homework, right, to get help with the homework, asking questions, right? If 2 + 2 is 4, or if 6, and things like that. So a hell lot of questions are coming. So the young generation is actually using the voice in a big time, right? So the best way to actually see the voice search use is to go to your niece or nephew, right, and just sit with them. You'll actually see that they're not using the keypad as much as we do, right? They're using a lot of voice, and I've seen that with my niece so much. To play a song, find about movie times, check the time, play song or movie. So this is very usual voice search is happening from a data point. This is something that Google actually released 2-3 years back. This would have changed, but yeah, this is at least what we know that Google is saying that is people are searching on. So what are the basics, right, of voice search optimization, right? Now SEO industry is always revolved around your keywords, right? You had a particular keyword in which you wanted to rank on, and you build all your keyword density around that particular keyword. You had the tags, you had the backlinks around a particular keyword. But in the voice search, it's actually a little different. In the voice search, optimization is more natural language, right? The way that two people talk. So when you're talking to someone, you're not going to talk in keywords. You're going to talk into a question, into a full form question, right? And that's where 3 to 5 words or more are essentially important in the voice search world. So long tail keywords. So if you're not optimizing your content for long tail keywords, then it's not going to really come into the voice search, right? And use question phrases. For example, who, where, how, right? All these questions, these question-centric phrases are very important when you're optimizing for the voice search world. Also, the microdata markup, which is schema.org. Most of the time now schema.org is so mature, right? Compared to what it was like 4-5 years back, that almost like 98% of the use cases you should be able to find on schema.org, right? For whatever business you have, right? B2B business, yes, you do have a schema available, right? Pizzas, car, rental, hotels, travel, everything. You do have schemas available to it. Always use schema as much as possible, because that gives Google information about the context of the content, right? Of what is the context of this content is. So go around and show that you have the microdata markup available so that Google understands the context very well. I'll take a stop. Any questions still now on? Yep.
So I have a news article that I run every holiday that says, do I have to take the trash out on the 4th of July? That's the story, the way the story is phrased. We always put that in there because it was a Google SEO thing, and it ranks very, very high and gets enormous traffic, right? Do I have to take the trash out on Christmas? Do I have to take, right? Are you saying that I need to put that question in the tags as opposed to just in the story for it to show up on
No. You still pretty much stay with that, right? How do I take? Yeah, do I take the trash out on 4th of July, right? But try to be a little local if you can, right? If you're looking at particular locals or have multiple pages.
San Antonio,
yeah,
right.
Make multiple pages of do I have to take a trash in New York or in San Antonio or things like that. That makes some difference. And then have listicles onto it, right? Have listicles, and trash might not be that best example, but in similar places where you have 10 steps or 5 steps of doing something. So how do I do this? And then there are 5 steps onto how do you do that, right? It actually brings you to that the big time on the search point, right? So that helps you actually get to that featured snippet, which helps you to get to the voice search word. Right. So yes. So no, not the tags, but you have to ensure that how question is there in the title, and then schema.org would be in your case it would be a how to. So there is a schema.org how to, right? That and so if you use the microdata markup for how to schema, you can essentially it will help Google to essentially rank your content better. So, talked few things already, but one more thing that I'll just talk about is that, you also, apart from having the local pages, right, having the location data tagged with the content, always have a contact information handy with the local listings, right, local content, right? So, let's say, if you're writing about a pizza restaurant, right, and if you're not having a phone number, right, handy in that particular article, right, somewhere in the bottom or in the end, right, Google will not be able to get that data in for that voice search result. Now, in your web-based world, you have a lot of CTF, right? You have a click to button, you have a sign up form, and things like that. But in the voice world, the only CTA is essentially a phone number, right? So if you don't have a phone number listed into your article, into your content, Google will not be able to, pick that up and essentially give you a call, right? So if you have seen that famous video where there is a barber shop, Google automatically calls that barber shop for an appointment and things like that. That would be the main CTA for you in the voice first world, right? So people will search for something and they'll end up ordering or taking an appointment or creating something, or calling up that for some information via that phone number, right? So that phone number becomes a very, very important CTA in the voice first world. Yeah, and then as I said, if you're doing all these things and if you're ensuring that you have the how, what, best into your triggered words, if you're using H1 in the top and H2 listicles into it, H2 listicles onto it, right? If you're working on long tail keywords, looking for questions, by doing all this thing, you'll ensure that you'll get on the featured snippet. So it's actually not different. If you actually find any featured snippet out there, Google is pretty much right now building that featured snippet as a de facto answer for a voice first question, right? Now, if you were on the third or the fourth rank of the Google search result, on the web based, it was still getting traffic. But on the voice first world, if you're not on the featured snippet, you're not going to get any traffic at all, right? And if you manage to get on the featured snippet, there's a good chance that you will end up being on that voice first answer as well. So if you do all the things that will help you get, which is all this topic specific page, building long tail keywords for long tail keywords, how, what, best, you will ensure that you'll get on the featured snippet. If you get on the featured snippet, you will ensure that you'll get on the voice first one. So there is a method to madness that that Google has already put out there to rank on the voice first word. Any questions here? Oh, okay, wonderful. So yeah, that was largely from a content point of view. But then one big piece that when you're building content strategy for a lot of clients, when we do build the voice content strategy for a lot of clients, we ensure that it's built in a way that it's available across all the different devices, right? It's available for the phone calls, for voice control calls, for we have some virtual try-ons, right? Magic mirrors and things like that, where we are serving content via Drupal. So ensure that whatever you are building from a voice point of view is essentially can be consumed anywhere, right? So yeah, and then they can speak multiple languages, which is a big time. We build bots which speak Hindi, Arabic, English. So that becomes really important when you're thinking of as multilingual as, right? But think of how many languages your bot can speak. So yeah, pretty much I do have one architecture if somebody is interested to look into it. It's an architecture that we have built on a little more. This is a Fortune 500 that we built this voice strategy and the entire chatbot platform, where we had both unstructured data and the structured data. Structured sources, data was essentially their internal questions, people asked, surveys, MIS, and then there was unstructured source data where there was there were a lot of reviews coming in from all the factories and the stores that they had globally, or social media data that was coming in. So we took all that data, put into a data lake and essentially created a data processing layer to ensure that we understand all the unstructured data and say that what are the different kind of questions coming in, right? And found a lot of insights, and then use that data to essentially create a bot platform which used to reduce a lot of load on their customer support team, right? We were able to reduce that load by 28%, which was a big number in terms of money in the end, right? So yeah, a view of something that we did in real time. Awesome. So I actually have time. Any last questions?
Do you
you know if Google Analytics or Search Console actually calls out which one of your searches were from voice?
Not right now.
Are they-
Yeah, last year they announced that they're gonna, so not in the analytics, but in the webmaster tool,
Yeah.
they announced that they will have, so you, in the webmaster tool, you have some keywords on which you are ranking, right? They announced that they will be having a voice keywords on which the voice keywords are ranking. They haven't released yet, right? For some reason. I asked that same question on the panel when there were Google and Microsoft folks, and they told me that they are holding it back by choice, right? Because they don't want it to be bastardized like a SEO world was.
Well, can you get it in ads then? Because I know they reserve a lot of their keyword data for Google Ads.
Yeah.
versus-
Yeah, that's going to happen eventually, right? So one of the nice, we were talking about the SEO piece a lot. So, and one of the very interesting thing that the guy from Microsoft said that, if you go around and you ask a question to Google or Alexa, and if it says, I don't know that, right? That's a very good place to essentially create a skill or an action, because that's a green field, like, right? Imagine 10 years back when you were searching for a keyword and you were not getting an answer, right? Right. That's a green field. So find out for him, and he was suggesting find out similar phrases where the Google says, I don't know that. Right, that's a gold mine for you to go on and build your content strategy in as well. Right, if you want to write articles around that. So yeah, that was some good inputs. But yeah, they're holding the data, by choice.
So I have another question. I have a very popular piece of content that tells people where to go vote for early voting and voting day, and it's a map.
Yeah.
Right. How can I make sure that map responds to a voice search?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Yeah.
Right now it is obviously text and it has a map inside of it.
Yeah.
And it is very SEO. We are ahead of the county elections administrator. We're number one.
Got it. I think one from a very practical point of view, first of all, just go on to Google, your device, just ask that question and find out what exactly they are responding to. Are they giving you an answer? And try different phrases, right? Where can I vote for election today? What is the way to vote in the election, right? Find different phrases and see what they are responding. Number one. Number two, when this kind of data would be very location specific, because when I'm going to vote today in New York versus today in other places,
Very local.
exactly, right? So you would have to have a map data, map coordinates into it.
I have map and longitude, latitude.
Yeah, but you would have to have coordinates as well. So longitudes inside your content somewhere, right? Even if it's hidden, that's totally fine. But it needs to be essentially accessible to Google to be able to index it for at least, right? And then find out there would be how do I reach to this particular place for voting and things like that, right? This is one piece, big piece. If you asking for direction, right? That's actually right on the top. Right, that's that. Right, how do I reach to the voting booth in New York or in my area and things like that? Right, look at that. That would be a big search. Yeah.
Maybe in addition to having a map, she could have a list underneath.
Yeah.
A text list underneath, and then maybe the voice would pick that up rather than.
And inside of the
map.
text list, the longitude, latitude, right?
Or just more text-based descriptions, because if you're on Alexa and somebody goes, go to latitude 34.75, right?
Sorry. Yeah.
But if you say go to 14 Smith Street or First Church or whatever, for this, then I imagine if you can generate one of those for each one of these local searches separately, then there's a good chance that would get picked up.
Yeah.
Especially if you can build all your semantic data around that as well.
Neat. And county elections is still putting theirs up on the PDF.
Sounds about right. Google can search PDFs now, though.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to defend. That's a very good use case for the voice, right? Asking for directions, very local, very real time on a specific day. Absolutely, we should
Plus
go.
it's helping democracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Do you ever find people comparing a voice search optimization to just another type of accessibility testing? I've sat in 2 different accessibility testing talks today, and the similarities between those and what you've described for voice are
Very,
a
very,
lot.
yeah.
So it almost just seems like another type of accessibility that we all need to be worried about.
Yeah, good point. I mean, it never came up directly to me yet, right? But yes, I mean, see, in the end, it's all about context,
Yeah.
right? So if you, from accessibility is everything about context, right? That how do you give a screen reader, context about what that content is, right? If
Yeah.
you're able to do that, you have a good accessibility, and that's the same with the voice as well.
Right. I just, keep seeing, don't use learn more. Put context with it, and that's
Yeah.
the same thing that you're saying here.
Yeah.
So there are just
Yeah.
a lot of similarities.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's also going through, how you would get that particular piece of voice accessibility to be number 1, right?
Yeah.
Number 0
Yeah.
even.
Searchable.
Right,
Yeah.
so you can be accessible but not good with SEO, but if you're not accessible, then I don't think you can get to the top of
Yeah.
the SEO if you don't have that voice
Yeah, they
accessibility.
do kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, but that's a good point, and I'll include that in my presentation next time. Yeah, I haven't worked on that point from that angle a lot. Yeah, I would have to look into it.
Because that's part of what Georgia.gov was talking about, was trying
Yeah.
to deal with people who didn't necessarily have
Yeah.
visual access, but have.
Yeah, that's true. That was one of the major reasons for them to do this initiative. And to be honest, globally, that's one of the big reasons that why this initiative is taking place, right? So Google, so in terms of ensuring that their NLP engine is very good. Right now, they're actually working with people who have speech disabilities, right? So they are actually building it, and they have very nice video that out there where they're working with people with speech disabilities, which stutter, which and all this thing, and they're ensuring that the final their NLP should be as good, that they should be able to invoke questions and answers and all this thing like that. So yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons that people are looking at globally, even India, right? So India, if you look into it, yes, it's not pure accessibility, but the people are essentially which the Google launched the phone are essentially illiterate people. They cannot read, right? For that's the reason that they have launched that phone, which is totally voice based, right? So if you want to know about prices in the a farmer, right, in the village, right, remote village in India, if you want to know about the prices of particular like onion or a potato, right, what's the market price, so that he's not selling low, he can pretty much ask Google and the answer would be there, right? So things like that is that. So yeah, that's a big, and that's. I mean, we have about 900 million people like that, right? Which are not there on right now big users of internet, right? So yeah, that's a big number. So yeah, it's a lot to do with the accessibility, and one thing that I read about like few months back, that somebody third-party company ran tests with Alexa, Siri, and Google Home, right, on accuracy, and Google actually landed up with a 93% accuracy now, right, in terms of understanding, the speeches and then accents and things like that, right, and to be able to find the answer. So it's just a matter of time for them to be able to, and they have a history of, having context of the content as much as anybody else, right? I mean, better than anywhere else. So, yeah, another couple of years and you would have, all the questions via voice. It's just a matter of time.
For some reason, I have both an Alexa show and a Google Home in my kitchen next to each other. I think just to annoy my wife.
Yeah.
But the Google one is so much better than
Yeah.
the Alexa one.
Yeah.
And it even reads out as you're saying it. It puts it. You see it correcting it in
Yeah.
midstream.
Yeah.
Getting the context right, and the Alexa one's like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. I've done the same
I try
thing.
to get them to talk to each other. They won't do that.
Yeah. And if once you've done that utterances and you go back in the app and you look at how that they have transcribed, have they understood it?
Yeah.
So if I say any keyword twice, they actually correct it very well, right? So if I say movie, right, instead of movie, they actually understand that I'm just saying about movie.
Google one's
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah. Google is getting way better now. So the Google duplex, so that piece where they were doing parallel processing, where they're not waiting, for that to complete and still getting inputs, which you're just talking about, was one big part of the Google duplex initiative, right? And they haven't launched the Google duplex completely yet, and they're claiming, which was the video which Sundar Pichai demoed, right? That they're claiming that once Google duplex is totally out, it can pretty much make your phone calls automatically, do bookings and things like that. They're saying that it's already there yet. They have just not launched it, right? Which they demoed, right? So in public. So yeah. Awesome. And this is a great. I know. I mean, just because I have interest in the industry, I know there are dearth of jobs. There's so many companies, large organizations looking for conversational designers, right? That word has come up, conversational designers, right? And they're not finding anyone. I mean, one of the clients that we worked for told me, I'll pay whatever you want, for that consultant who can do conversational design. And I couldn't find anyone. Right? There's one good guy, Scott, who's doing some good work in London. But yeah, imagine, right? I mean, if you have a client in US, you have to get a guy from London for doing that.
There's one guy who makes $250,000 a year just writing Alexa skills.
Yeah.
That's all he does for companies.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like that. So it's a very, very good space. People don't understand how it's done. It's new, right? So yeah, a lot of jobs out there. Awesome. We actually have 3 minutes left.
One more thing to plug in there, and it is from the other end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends who's a very, very successful podcaster tells me that Google is privately transcribing podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
They're not making those transcriptions available, but they're transcribing the podcasts
Yep.
so that they can do a search.
Yep.
So that Google search can find words within the podcast.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
And theoretically, that would be accessible in a voice search too.
Yeah.
Theoretically, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But by Google doing it,
Mm-hmm.
as
Yeah.
opposed to.
And everybody is jumping onto it. AWS launched a service called AWS Transcribe, which is where they are asking content creators to put that on their websites, and which is automatically creating voice centric podcasts out of your content, right? So everybody is competing for that both ways, content, textual content to voice, voice to textual. Yes, that's happening all the time.
What about video?
Video, I'm not sure. So there are initiatives. There is a company called Audio Burst, which is backed by Samsung, by Bixby, which is the late entrant in the market, and Samsung being Samsung, they will. I'm pretty sure they will kill it. But what they did is that they have licensed all this content, the video content from NPR and all these morning shows, right? And they're creating burst out of it called Audio Burst. Audio Burst. Yeah, AUDIOBURST, Audio Burst. They are actually one of the most funded companies in the voice space, Audio Burst. So they're then doing some amazing things, and they claim they have about 50 million traffic, which is crazy, right? I mean, but yeah, so yeah, that's a good place to look at, and they're doing some interesting thing with videos, where they're taking out the videos of all these news channels in the morning, right? Creating clips automatically, and then while you're going into the car and translating into voice. So if, let's say, in the morning show, I'm from India, so I'll talk about it. So let's say Kashmir is one important topic that I want to keep apprised of, right? So they'll automatically transcribe look at all the videos or all the news channels talking about the Kashmir in the morning, right? Create burst out of it, combine it into a one flash briefing, right? And while I'm there, on my way to the work, they'll give it flash briefing to me on the car. So very real time, very useful. They're saying that they have 50 million users now. Yeah, and that's that's a lot of content which just stays in archive, right? Right. So all this content, all the news channels, right? They'll do a lot of programming, and then this goes into the archive. It's not searchable. It's not indexable. It doesn't do anything, right? So that
It's very difficult to take that content. I mean, I know to take that kind of video content and try to make it accessible.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Manually, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So they're doing that, and they've been very successful. Yeah. Awesome. Any more questions? No? All right. Thank you.